Are you thinking about getting a tiny home here in Montana? In this video, we're going to tell you everything you need to know if you're thinking about building or setting up your own tiny home here in Montana. Alright, so I climbed all the way up this mountain to give you a better view of Montana. So the least you can do is subscribe to our channel. And when you do, don't forget to hit the little bell and you'll be notified every time we make a new video about Montana. So ever since our prices started going up here in Montana, we've been getting a lot of calls about people wanting to, beat the system a little bit and just buy a piece of property and put a tiny home on it. And that's a great idea, but there are a lot of rules and regulations, and to be honest, a lot of the states haven't caught up with this new trend of tiny homes yet. So the main thing I want to go over in this video is just the rules that are out there and what you need to be careful of before you go. We'll look at some tiny homes later, but before you go buy one, there's some things you need to know. So the first thing you want to check is the piece of property that you're going to buy. If it for sure, if it's in a town, there's going to be regulations. And if you're out in the country, there's going to be, even if you buy a piece of property with no covenants, you would think that you can get away with whatever you want, but that's not always the case. There's going to be county regulations that come into play when depending on what you want to do with the lot. So if you're going to just stick a tiny home out there, be sure that your agent, or if it's me, whomever you're using, or if you're doing it yourself, check with the county. Even if there aren't any covenants on the property, that doesn't mean you can automatically put a tiny house out there. Obviously, if there's an HOA and it's part of a subdivision, you're going to need to look at the covenants closely. And I would always check with whoever the head of the HOA is before you do anything, before you purchase the property, to make sure your plans match up with what they will and will not allow. So one of the things you're going to need to check with the county regulations is, sometimes they may have regulations on the size of the structure. If you want to put more than one out there, if you're putting a bunch out there thinking you're going to, rent them out, again, even if there's no covenants, you're going to have to check the zoning, and that may or may not be allowed. Probably not, because like I said earlier, this state and all of the states are, they're slow to catch up with these new trends, and tiny homes is one of the things. Even though it's probably going to help a lot of people find housing in some of these areas now that our prices have gotten so high, you're still going to have to get this pushed through. And if you're buying a lot, you want to make sure, obviously, that you can do what you want to do before you purchase the lot. So, for example, in Flathead County, where I'm at, there's with dealing with septics, on these tiny homes, they're basically like a camper. You can put them on a foundation, or some of them are, basically a trailer that you pull in there and you park it on a slab, and then you just insulate around the bottom if it's going to be there permanently and you're not going to move it around. But one of the regulations that you're going to have to check into is the septic. And here in this county, they require at least a 3-bedroom septic for any kind of structure. So even though you're in this tiny little 600 square foot house, you're going to have to put in a 3-bedroom septic, or a system that would handle a 3-bedroom house. So it'll be way overbuilt, but that's just one of the things that you're going to run into in this area. And again, it's different all over the state, all over the country. So make sure you check into that and see what kind of money you're getting into there. The other thing we've discussed when buying property is the cost of water. Some of these tiny homes, they'll have big holding tanks like they do in campers, and you can go that route. But if you want a well, there again, that's going to be another cost that if you're going to have to drill a well out there. And if you're, really trying to beat the system and find a cheap piece of property to put your, affordable little tiny house on, you know, the well could end up costing you more than everything, depending on how deep it is. So make sure you check the well records and the well logs in that area before you buy the land. After, of course, this is something you do after you find out if you can put a tiny house there. The other thing you're going to have to think about out here is the winter time. And like I said, if you put it on a foundation, that's a different deal. But if you're just pulling it out there on top of a slab, you're going to have to think about the insulation and keeping the underside of the building warm during the winter so everything doesn't freeze up, because obviously we get below freezing here, we get a lot of snow. And that's the other thing you need to check into, is whether the roof will hold the amount of snow we get here in some of these areas. You'll have to check the size of the trusses and what type of snow load they can handle. I've seen, like these pictures here, or this site, this company will sell the metal roof, so obviously the snow will slide right off of there, but you still need to make sure those roofs are rated for a snow load that you're going to get in these types of areas. So let's take a look at some of these tiny homes. This company is out of Colorado, this Tumbleweed Tiny House Company. They're one of the biggest ones in the country right now, and they sell all different types of these tiny houses. And they also, you can sign up for financing with these guys. They kind of have become a one-stop shop. And if you look at some of these are, like this model here starts at $83,000. And I mean, they're really nice inside. They're obviously tiny, but if you're into that and looking for a small little place, these aren't bad at all. Here's the stats on this particular house. It's 26 feet long, 215 square feet, and they have a little loft up here for the bed, a bathroom, a kitchen, a great room. I don't know if that constitutes a great room, but in a tiny house, I guess that's what it is. And then they have different models you can buy. This one, this again, I was talking earlier about the metal roof. These all have metal roofs, and these all are on wheels. So you can either just pull it somewhere like a camper and park it, and then insulate around the bottom, like I said, if it gets cold. Or, you can take it off of that trailer and actually set it on a foundation. So, they're kind of cool. If you want to check out this site, it's tumbleweedhouses.com, but it just shows you the different models, and then you can get, each model you can get 26 foot or 30 foot, and obviously the 30 foot has a few more square feet, 259, shows the height and width and everything. So yeah, and I've seen some other ones. There's all kinds of companies that do it. This just happens to be the biggest one. But there are some other ones where I've seen people mount solar panels on the roof. So if you're looking for something off the grid, that's also an option. So yeah, check these out. Check out these sites. Search around. Like I said, there's other places that sell these too, but this is what you're getting nowadays in these tiny houses. So once again, the most important thing to look at before you buy a tiny home is where you're going to put it and if it's allowed, and all of the other expenses that are going to go along with it. Sure, you can save a lot of money buying one of these houses, but it may end up costing you a lot more than you think. So be sure to do the research. Be sure you know what you're getting into, whether it's with the well, the septic, and most importantly, if a tiny home is allowed where you want to put it. One other thing I wanted to mention too is the financing for these houses. They're not the same as, a mortgage. They're going to finance like if you were buying a camper. So keep that in mind if you're planning on financing, because it's going to be a different deal altogether. So I hope that helps. And if you have any other questions, let us know.
Thank you for watching our video. Please call, text, or email for more information. And don't forget to watch our other videos about Montana.